And today I am here on a special episode of Geek Talk, and I have a special guest who ended up turning his back on the Raptors, and he's also been the Luke Skywalker for... Hopefully it'll work here. There we go. He also is the motion capture for Luke Skywalker on Star Wars Battlefront. Colby Boothman with me today.
Thanks for having me.
How's it going today?
Really awesome. How are you?
I'm doing all right. And yes, it's actually an honor to have you here today.
Thank you. It's great being here.
Basically, did you ever watch on before you even got on Jurassic World? Did you actually ever watch any of the Jurassic Parks and stuff?
Yeah, actually, I think the first time I saw Jurassic Park was when I was 6 years old, and it just scared the bejesus out of me. It took me about 2 years to recover, and then I watched the second one. I grew up watching the films. Actually, I had, by occasion, watched the first Jurassic Park film 2 days before I got called for a reading for Jurassic World. So it was fresh in my mind, and I have to say that actually certainly helped create the character for my audition.
Yeah, that would actually be pretty cool to do. I mean, so at least you actually had kind of a fresh in your mind type thing.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And then you also got to do a lot of different things with I'm sure when you first walked on the set, it was just like walking into the Coliseum.
Sure. The first set that I saw was the Raptor paddock. And when you see that, it can't be anything but Jurassic Park. Just the lighting coming in through these massive stadium lights into the paddock, the big metal bars, the color schemes, the vehicles running, everybody's running around in the Jurassic World ACU outfits, or the Animal Containment Unit, I believe, is what the
yeah,
ACU
I think that's what it was.
And it was really quite incredible to see this huge, massive set that they built up for the paddock. They brought in coconut palm trees that were just everywhere, and we were filming that scene in Louisiana on NASA's assembly facility right outside of New Orleans. So it
was probably pretty hot at that time.
It was really hot. Most of the time, the days that we were shooting, we spent in, at least the cast, we had a cooling tent, which was a nice air-conditioned space for us to chat and hang out with. We'd spend several hours every single day just hiding from the sun.
Yeah, dang, I'd be sitting there scorching like it was in basic training for the military.
Yeah, it was pretty hot when we were actually out onto the set. A lot of the times we would have umbrellas to give us some shade because we're out in the open. There's nowhere to hide, especially when we were up on the catwalks in the paddock. So you're just sitting in the scorching Louisiana sun.
Right. Yeah, I was in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri for basic training, so I know how hot it would probably be.
Pretty hot, and you probably didn't have the fortune of having umbrellas at hand.
No, I probably didn't.
A lot of respect there.
So, and then you actually got to what was it like to work with Chris Pratt?
When we were filming, Guardians of the Galaxy had not come out yet, so most people knew him as Chris from Parks and Rec. He was he didn't have the same massive fame that he has today, and I think in a lot of ways it was really great to see two sides of Chris. There's the Chris before he had action figures in everybody's homes all over the world, and the Chris post massive stardom, and he's the same person.
Right.
And that's really cool, Sometimes huge success can change who people are. And uh, it doesn't change him at all. He's just a really great person and just a blast to work with.
Right. And basically, when you turned your back to the Raptors, you actually got to see that after you'd shot it, I'm sure.
I actually did not get to see that. I did not want to see any of the footage while we were really filming.
Oh,
And it was
okay.
pretty hard to actually see the footage that we're filming because we're shooting on film. We shot this, a lot of films are shot digital these days. They either use the red cameras or the ARRI, which are the cinema cameras commonly used in Hollywood. And we were shooting with the 35 millimeter IMAX film for any of our close-up shots. And actually, when we were shooting wide, the cinematographer used the 70 millimeter IMAX
Okay.
reels, which is crazy, unbelievable footage that you get from that. Which prior to Jurassic World hadn't really been used much in Hollywood movies. They were pretty much reserved to the IMAX educational films. So to have that for Jurassic was quite an experience. It was really one of the first films to do that.
Right.
And that's what created these sweeping visuals that you see all over the movie.
Yeah, see, my son is actually a fan of he's mainly into dinosaurs, but Jurassic World's one of his favorite movies, so.
Awesome.
So.
Definitely pretty incredible to work on. I forgot what I was talking about before. I was talking about.
You were talking about the cameras
Yeah.
they were using.
And we didn't get to see much of the shot because what the visuals that we did see of what we were actually filming, if you weren't a camera operator looking through the lens, you had to watch on these little monitors, and they were glitchy and not high resolution. It's just what you have to do to be able to get a visual to the monitor from real cameras using film is much more difficult than digital. When you're shooting digital, you can see it and keep rolling for days. You really know what you're looking at. But when you're shooting on film, it's much more difficult to work with. And besides that, I kind of just, did my role in the characters and did the best I could. And I didn't really want to see it. I wanted to see the film in its full in the theater, like everybody else. And a lot of people on set, they had to really try not to get any spoilers for the movie that they're working on. Because it's just a film that they've been waiting, a decade for, and they're fortunate to work on. But they still want to see the movie uninterrupted,
Right.
without any spoilers. So, if parts of the script are around, a lot of people don't even want to look at them. Even on set, though, the script is pretty kept secret. So unless it's vital for you to have script information, even if you're working on set, your sides that you get for the day, it's like a little packet of script and shots, props. It's basically the all-telling sheet for the day and what everybody needs for their job that day. But if you did not need the script, you would not get it on your sides, and all sides had our names written on them. So anything leaked, they knew they knew who did it.
Right.
So fortunately, we didn't have too many issues with leaks on that film, which is great because none of us wanted the movie spoiled because it's just a great action film and a franchise that we were all excited to see.
So a question from one of my listeners is, what was your favorite memory on the Jurassic World set?
My favorite memory on the Jurassic, well, I've got two. The first one was, we were, on these hot days, we were just sitting in the cooling tent. And it was me, Chris Pratt, Omar Sy, Vincent D'Onofrio, and Jack Horner. And Jack Horner's assistant paleontologist, Vanessa Weaver. And Jack Horner, for those of you who don't know, is pretty much the foremost dinosaur expert in the world.
Nice.
And he's the dinosaur consultant for the Jurassic Park franchise, actually. Um, you could really say that Sam Neill's character, Alan Grant, is based on Jack Horner. Uh, he's one of those few people that you can just sit there listening to for hours, and we really did. We spent every single day, we would just spend hours talking about dinosaurs, evolution, uh, just environmental changes happening in the planet and how that affects humans and animal life and life going all the way back to the Jurassic period. And it was really quite fascinating. I didn't expect to receive such an education on set, and I certainly did. And I had the fortune when the movie premiered, after the Los Angeles premiere the following day, I flew to Bozeman, Montana for a special viewing at the Museum of the Rockies, which was the museum curated by Jack Horner, which is the largest dinosaur museum in the world. And I got to see this amazing museum firsthand. We got to go behind the scenes into the vault, which is the largest collection of dinosaur fossils in the world, all in this one massive room with these cabinets that probably go up 12 feet, and they're just stacked rows and rows and rows of these cabinets just filled with everything you could possibly imagine. You open a drawer and there's a velociraptor in one, and you open up another and there's a stegosaurus head. Really, really fascinating.
Wow. And Stegosaurus actually was one of my favorite ones growing up.
Yeah,
First dinosaurs. And same guy asked this question is, have you actually been contacted about doing a sequel?
I'm not too sure what's going on with that. I know it's being executive produced by Colin Trevorrow, the director of Jurassic World, and things are pretty much kept under wraps, and I have no idea really what's going on with that, and the things that I do know about it, I can't say.
Right, so they haven't actually let you know yet.
But it's definitely something. If they want to write me into it, I would love to be back. It's just incredible working with that group of impossibly talented people. I mean, it's truly an amazing group of people that they put together for the film.
Right. And since he asked about sci-fi, and I already kind of know about, we'll switch into kind of a Star Wars thing, because this is Geek Talk, and we can cover almost anything geek. So, were you a Star Wars fan before you got anything or asked anything about Star Wars?
I can definitely say that if I didn't have an interest in Star Wars, I would not be anywhere near where I am today.
Right. You've actually got...
The first film that I saw was Star Wars Episode 1, and just watching the lightsaber battles from Episode 1 really inspired me to pick up a sword, and I always had my plastic lightsabers growing up, and still do today. I can just open up my closet, and I've probably got 3 lightsabers lying around. I think one of which I've had for probably 15 years now.
Probably the Darth Maul double blader, right?
No, actually, I think it's Obi-Wan's lightsaber that I like the most.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, mostly because it's a lot easier to twirl.
Yeah, I actually have the Darth Maul double blader lightsaber.
That's fun.
Yeah. So, my favorite's always been, ever since Knights of the Old Republic, the double bladed lightsabers. I was like, yep, you can do more damage that way.
Yeah. Personally, I prefer to use 2 swords. Dual wielding is much more efficient for me, but that's just me. Everybody's different.
Right.
Working on the Star Wars games and my involvement there has really been quite incredible, and that's actually been thanks to Nick Millard, the stunt coordinator of the Star Wars prequels. He's the one who created what we know as the lightsaber fighting of the prequels, which is, without doubt, an unbelievable art form.
Right. And as far as, like, say, I know you've got to work with the Mythbusters.
That was also Nick sent me off to that. They were looking for somebody that could teach Adam and Jamie for the Star Wars special, and maybe kind of to backtrack a little bit. Nick Gillard was teaching a lightsaber choreography class in New Orleans, and I happened to be living there at the time, and signed up for his lightsaber class because that's something that I always had an interest. Specifically, was the choreography from Star Wars. That's what led me to fencing. I fenced, in the FIA, which is the International Fencing Federation, from a really young age. I started fencing about 10 or 11, and I started fencing at the highly competitive level in the FIE when I was 12, and I fenced competitively up through my end of high school. And that's where I developed my foundation for sword fighting and really refined my abilities over the years that I was fencing, both foil, epee, and saber. And that, translated quite well when I started learning the Star Wars choreography from Nick. I first took his class, and it was really just incredible to learn the choreography from Episode 3 from him.
He's actually a very nice guy. I've actually got to talk to him a little bit through emails and stuff.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, he's definitely somebody worth having on the podcast. He's one of the most influential people of the Star Wars prequels. I think a lot of people didn't know how much involvement he really had. The fight scenes, which really make up, for me personally, and they're all the films, and every film has its ups and downs. But for me, one of the most amazing things about the Star Wars franchise is the sword fighting. And I think Nick really captured not just the art form of sword fighting and sword choreography, the dance that is the lightsaber fighting. But
so kind of the Star Wars sword lightsaber fights were what got you into fencing a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, no question that without the Star Wars sword fighting, my interest in swords would probably be pretty negligible, and I wouldn't have done all the amazing things with fencing that I did. But the choreography of the prequels really adds another level of character to Luke Skywalker and or Anakin Skywalker, not Luke Skywalker. My apologies.
No problem.
And Obi-Wan. Of course, you have Darth Maul. These characters were written, and the sword fighting very much portrays the emotional intensity of some of the characters, particularly in Episode 3. That fight sequence at the end of the film, Anakin and Obi-Wan, will certainly go down as one of the best sword fights of all time.
Right. And as far as Battlefront, when you actually got called up for that, did they actually ask you to kind of learn Luke's style? Because each Jedi has its own style.
I knew what character I was going to be playing, so I knew ahead of time that I was going to be playing Luke. And as an actor or a stunt performer or stunt double, no matter what you're doing in film, if it's performance-based, it's your job to learn everything. It's not the kind of thing where they're going to come in and tell you that you need to start practicing the styles of Luke Skywalker. It's something that you take upon yourself to learn as much as you can. And for me, I kind of, I had learned a lot of the different styles of various characters from the films just in my studies through Nick. But when I when it came to Battlefront, you take it to another level because you are becoming that character, and it's kind of up to you to give the fans what they deserve. So I spent a couple weeks just studying the film, studying the various characters, how they move, how they walk, how they run, what sort of emotional characteristics go into each of the characters, not just Luke Skywalker. Why does Darth Vader move the way that he does? Why does he have the big sweeping slashes that he does? Which, if you actually go back into the history of the film, the costume for Darth Vader was actually very inhibiting, which is one of the reasons that he has these big, powerful, sweeping motions, and they kind of don't go beyond a certain point towards the body because your arms just can't reach over in that outfit. And so when it comes to making a video game, those are the kinds of things you have to keep in mind, because when you're in the motion capture outfit, you don't have these inhibitions that you would on set. You don't have these outfits that are cumbersome and limit your abilities. And sometimes it's those limitations that actually bring out a character. And when you're doing motion capture, you have to make them exist to yourself and keep all these little inhibitions in mind while you're portraying a character.
Right. So have you actually? Are you a gamer yourself?
Oh yeah, actually, right now I'm doing this podcast on my Star Wars Battlefront headset, which is by the amazing people at Turtle Beach. They sent me a couple of the Stormtrooper headsets, and they're actually really great. I had never really used anything besides the typical free in the box console headsets before I got this, and I can't believe what I've been missing. It's actually a really great headset.
Have you actually been playing Battlefront at all?
Yeah, I have. I'm really excited for the new DLC that's going to be coming out soon, which is, I forget the name exactly of it, but it's like an attack on the Death Star. And it's mostly ship-based, and it's really definitely something that your original Star Wars Battlefront players will recognize as a true space battle. And I'm really excited for that, get my hands on that, and we get to see Chewbacca in that DLC, which is a lot of fun. Peter Mayhew is a good friend of mine, so anytime I see anything that is Chewbacca, I just kind of freak out.
That's pretty sweet. So, as far as for characters on Battlefront, who would have to be your favorite one as heroes to play as? With the exception of Luke.
Oh, so I can't use Luke?
Well, you could, but...
Oh, man. All right. Well, Luke aside, I would have to say my favorite characters. Maybe Boba Fett.
Okay. A lot of people like Boba Fett.
Yeah, the jetpacks come in handy, particularly as I'm not very good at the game. So it's always nice when I can just jetpack off and run away, which I do quite often when I'm playing the game.
Yeah,
So
I myself haven't played it yet, so...
One of the great questions of the game that everybody asks me is if I'm playing a Stormtrooper and Luke Skywalker comes up and kills me, is that suicide?
That is a good question.
It's actually really disappointing to see yourself get killed as a character that you play. And as much as you try to make it Luke Skywalker, you just cannot hide some of the things that are quintessential you. Although the video gamers will not play it. My mom can take a look at Luke Skywalker running around and be like, point it out, be like, "That's your run!" And, for me, it's like, I'm trying to get as far away from my own personal movements as possible, and my mom can still realize that the Luke Skywalker running around on screen is me because of the way that I run.
So basically, you got to change up your own way to run because they know you know how you move.
Yeah, and that's something that only my parents will pick up on, mostly because when I run, the way that my hands move is very back and forth and a very kind of slicing motions, which we don't really see Luke Skywalker running a whole lot in the original trilogy.
Right.
So it's not something that I had any reference point on, and you just kind of have to do, particularly at the speeds that we are moving at. We had to we had to go blindingly fast when we were in the motion capture studio to be able to get the speeds that Luke Skywalker is capturing. When you're doing the motion capture, they track the speed that you're running at, and they have predetermined speeds that the characters are running around at in the game. So we have to match those speeds as closely as possible. And it's really hard to do because in a video game, obviously, you're not using actual statistics of how quickly people run, and particularly as these are heroes, they're going to run a lot faster than anybody else. And in order to make sure that our legs are synced up to the ground that we're running on properly, and that the motion capture is accurate without appearing to be sped up or anything like that, we have to run as quickly as we possibly can. And yeah, it's pretty intense, but it's a lot of fun. And I think at one point they actually told me to slow down because I was running faster than the character. So that's always pretty good to hear.
Well, at least you got to know that you were a little bit quicker than what you were supposed to be.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. Sometimes you'll go through emotion, and when they tell you to slow down, um, it can be a good thing because you're learning your limits. And when you're doing the motion capture, they can literally tell you how quick you're running. I cannot recall exactly how fast they were going, but
Right.
I was happy with it. Not going to be Usain Bolt or anyone, but personally, I was pretty satisfied with it.
Right. And something I do ask my guests before we take a couple other questions that I was told to ask you is if I ask about superheroes, because as geeks we all like them. I know you haven't done anything with, like, say, Marvel or anything like that, but if you had to choose any superhero to play as do stunts for in a video game or act as, who would it be?
That's a good question. Hmm, any character. I think it'd be fun to do motion capture for like a Deadpool game, or I really like sword fighting, and any characters that have sword fighting, it always captures my attention. I do this sword stuff for Star Wars, and I also do uh, acting, and they've, for the most part, been very separate. While they're in the same industry, I've yet to play a character that wields a sword in a movie, which for me has kind of been really disappointing because I figured that would be something that I'd be doing immediately. Like, I figured that would be something that would really push me ahead in my acting. And while I've been able to do things that I'm incredibly grateful with in my acting, I still haven't been able to pick up a sword on camera. So
Well,
that's
need
been
to
kind of
get you into
frustrating.
like
I would
a
definitely love to
ninja
play
game.
a sword character. Yeah,
Have to get you into
yeah,
a
or
ninja movie or something.
that would be a lot of fun. Yeah, there's some really really cool characters out there. Ray Park actually had the fortune of playing Snake Eyes and GI Joe,
Yeah, he
and
was
I know
awesome.
he had a lot of fun with that. We were with him at a Star Wars Celebration last year, and I, I first ran into Ray when he was in New Orleans, kind of by happenstance. He was working on GI Joe, and I ran into him at a small little food market in the warehouse district, and
Oh,
we just
awesome.
kind of chatted there. I didn't even recognize him. I was just there, just shopping for food or whatever, and he was at the counter, and I can't remember how we got to that topic, but we were kind of just talking about New Orleans, and he had just mentioned that he's in town working on a project, and he mentioned that he was doing GI Joe, and he just asked him kind of like what he was doing for that, and he said he was playing Snake Eyes, and we just talked a bit about that and sword fighting, and chatted for a few minutes there.
You know what? I think most people would probably.
I didn't,
This is something I think a lot of people might actually like to see.
yeah.
Is you and Ray Park doing a sword fight at Star Wars Celebration.
That would be a lot of fun. He's a terrific swordsman, and that's definitely something we've talked about. We were at Star Wars weekends last year. I was coming off my press tour for Jurassic World. The film had just released, and I flew to Orlando to hang out at Star Wars weekends. And it was Peter Mayhew and Ray Park and a few others. Some of which you would know. The voice of Obi-Wan, which is
James Arnold Taylor.
Yeah, James Arnold Taylor.
I have actually had him on as a guest, so.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, he's a great guy. I haven't talked to him too much, but he's always a personality whenever he's around. He's always at Star Wars weekends. He does a show there, and he's kind of the face of Star Wars weekends, which I believe
he was the face of Star Wars weekends when they did have it.
That got canceled for the past year, and it's a little bit unfortunate. I always had a lot of fun going to that. It's always a blast, and hopefully they'll bring that out in the future. But Star Wars weekends was a lot of fun, and it was Ray and I kind of sitting there just chatting. We were saying it would be kind of great to have maybe like a show for Disney or something like that. It'd be really cool if they could do the episode 1 fight scene live.
That would be really cool.
Yeah, I can't imagine how they would set that up. You can do things that are kind of basic and just go through the fight scene with the characters, or you could do something really elaborate. There's a lot of ways you could take it, but either way, it would definitely be fun to cross swords with Ray. He's a tremendous athlete and swordsman, and that'd be a lot of fun.
All right, so one of the questions that my listener asked is, who is your biggest inspiration to go into acting or even stunt doubling?
I haven't done a whole lot of stunt doubling. That kind of just happened on its own. The first thing I ever did on film was stunts on Green Lantern, and that was truly happenstance, and fortunately that kind of led to the career that I have now. But I can't really say that anything inspired it from the beginning. It was really just something that I fell into. The first thing I ever did was Green Lantern, and that just happened to be because it was filming in New Orleans while I was living there, and I just kind of jumped on and asked casting if they can get me on as an extra,
Right.
And, day one, Martin Campbell kind of came up and was like, hey, here's this stunt coordinator, and we'd just like to put you kind of near the front of the camera somewhere. So that was just based on the fact that they liked what I was doing, and they just wanted me to do something a little closer to the camera. And that was my day one on movies, and it kind of spiraled off from there. It wasn't ever something that I actively looked for or thought about, but when the opportunity kind of fell in my hands, I didn't want to do anything else.
Okay, and then his other question is, because I also know that you weren't always an actor, but if you weren't an actor or doing stunt doubles, what would you be doing instead?
I would probably have to say the business side and design side of fashion design. That's something that always fascinates me, and I do a lot of designing to this day. I'm always doing drawings. On my Instagram or Twitter, occasionally I'll post some of my designs that I that I draw up, and I spend a lot of time traveling to fashion weeks. I was just at Miami Fashion Week. Got to see some amazing fashion shows there, Custo Barcelona, and several others. There was actually uh, one of the designers. Let me think of it. One of the designers at Miami Fashion Week had Darth Vader outfits.
Oh,
Or
nice.
they were these really elegant uh, shirts and dresses, and they were sequined or glittered. Darth Vader heads all over it were used in a way that I've never really seen before. So that was a surprise to me. I didn't know that was coming. I snapped some pictures and sent that off to the Star Wars community. I guess they're based in, I think, Spain. That's where that fashion designer was based out of, and they worked very closely with Lucasfilm in that country, or Disney in that country. So these were high-end couture Star Wars pieces. If you bear with me for a second, I can probably look that up. Here we go. Yeah, I had to look this up. Avarno was the company
Okay.
that was making these Star Wars outfits, and it's Alvarno, and they're really cool to look up. They just have these awesome outfits that just make any Star Wars fan jealous, because we all love seeing when unique Star Wars memorabilia and
Oh, yeah.
attire comes out, and when I see this on the runway, it's like, here is just the epitome of what the coolest Star Wars outfits can look like. They're just these super awesome couture Star Wars pieces. It was just nothing that I had ever really expected to see on the runway. It's really fun.
So, like, say, you've probably gone to conventions and stuff, and have you ever just kind of tried to sneak in as a cosplayer?
Generally, I'll go to conventions and just kind of walk around. These days, it's a little bit harder with MythBusters out and Star Wars Battlefront. But if it's Star Wars related, particularly like Star Wars Celebration, now that MythBusters has come out, it's a bit harder to walk around. But there's ways to kind of sneak around, put my hair up, put my hair down, whichever helps.
All right. I actually seen that Jamie actually went, I believe it was that, went around as Kylo Ren.
Yeah, every year I'll go to San Diego Comic-Con and walk around in an outfit. Yeah, we chatted a bit about that, how he always goes to San Diego and dresses up as, I think one year he was No-Face from Spirited Away.
Okay. I've actually seen, I think I seen one this year at an anime convention.
It's really cool. I always love anytime I see something that's Miyazaki, like Castle in the Sky or Howl's Moving Castle. Anything to those always gets my nerd going. I actually have the Spirited Away socks and Totoro socks. Like I have a Miyazaki sock collection now. I'm always out and about in.
Right. So, as far as anything goes, you got any upcoming events coming up that you're either going to, or anything?
I'm hopefully
any
hopefully I'll
projects
be
going in the
doing.
works?
At the moment, I've been spending a lot of time writing, and I've got a script that I'm working on and a couple other projects. So I'm really really excited about that. But I've got had some great meetings, and hopefully there'll be some good film projects coming up. It's hard to talk about anything that hasn't already been filmed, because the moment you say one thing, the internet tends to light up, and that's not always a good thing.
Right.
So I've got some things that I'm pretty excited for, and yeah, there'll be some things, and I'm sure if you pay attention to Twitter or Instagram, I'll post about them.
Okay, that's pretty cool. And say autograph collectors or anything like that from me, do Do you ever sign through the mail, or are you at the conventions quite often?
At the moment, I've been having people send things to my uh, publicists, and they've been forwarding those to me, and then things have been getting forwarded back, and that's become a little bit cumbersome, particularly as people are sending these. I've been sending a lot of really cool packages, which I love getting. I've gotten some really cool things from fans. I got these dinosaur soaps, which are these carved out, elaborate dinosaur soaps from one person. I got a custom shirt that was made from some fans in Portugal, and it's always amazing to see the things that people go to great lengths to create, and I'm really grateful for them. And I'm going to be picking up a more local PO box that I can more easily access personally, so that way it's easier for people to be able to send things. And hopefully I'll be doing some conventions this year if I don't get too busy. That would.
I don't get to too many conventions right now, but because I live in South Dakota, of course, and that's
Yeah, there's still conventions everywhere. Some of the most fun conventions that I've ever been to have just been the small ones. There's one in New Orleans that I love just attending because I have a lot of friends there. I'll just occasionally go and hang out, just called MechaCon. And that's a small anime convention. And another one that I had a lot of fun at was Cincinnati Comic Expo. And that's actually gotten much bigger. Much, much bigger. That's coming up in September.
So do you get around the Minneapolis area at all?
I haven't yet. But, there really are amazing conventions everywhere you go. Ohio has some. California has just a plethora. New York. And you can just go to anywhere Midwest, and there's going to be some group of comic fans creating an event, and the smaller ones are generally some of the better ones to go to. They're just very laid back, and they're run by people who really care. I found that, not that some of the big ones aren't run by people that care. Sometimes the bigger conventions can be just a bit organized, where everything is hyper scheduled. And,
right.
You don't have as much time to be able to talk to people or answer as many questions because everything is on such a tight schedule and has to go according to plan. But the smaller ones can be a bit more lax, and if something's running 10 or 15 minutes late because you're talking to a group of people somewhere else who are twirling a lightsaber around, who knows?
Right.
You're a bit more free to be able to get around and interact on a personal level, which I think is nice.
Right. And I might have to petition for Anna Minneapolis or something like that out in close by, because it's closer than Chicago for me.
Yeah, that'd be great. I did Chicago Wizard World once. I had a good time there. Didn't get to see the city at all. I'd love to see Chicago, and I've been, a 10-minute drive away from Chicago, but was stuck kind of near the airport because we were just so busy. Hopefully one day I'll get to Chicago as well and actually see the city.
Well, if you've ever been to Mount Rushmore, you've been to South Dakota.
I haven't.
You have not?
It's definitely something. No, I haven't. I travel a lot, and there's just a lot to see in the world. Hopefully that'll be something that I get to see with my own eyes.
Yeah, it's actually a great monument and a lot of fun to come to. Hopefully, I can petition a couple conventions around here to get you out here.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to see it, and just meet the diverse people wherever they are in the country. It's always fascinating to see how there are different people wherever you travel in the country.
Oh yeah.
One, if you ever get around to, I don't know if you've been Salt Lake City Comic Con.
No, I haven't.
Truly, truly amazing. I had the fortune of going one of their first years running, and the group with Dan and the people that run Salt Lake City Comic Con are really incredible. They're some of the most friendly people you'll ever meet, and they do a tremendous job of taking care of everybody. And they do an amazing job of making sure that everybody feels welcome. And despite being such a large show, I think it's one of the biggest shows in the world at the moment. And it's been running for very few years, so it's tremendous what they've done. Despite being such a large show, they do an amazing job of making it very personal. And it's something that I think, it's very hard to coordinate and run these massive events. And for organizers looking to do that, a great example is what they do at Salt Lake City Comic Con. So if you have the chance, definitely check that place out.
I will see what I can do. And one more thing before we wrap up here is, do you collect, like, say, figures or different things like that?
I try not to, but it just happens. You see something, a unique piece or something that catches your eye, and you have to have it. Particularly, now I've got two franchises that I'm trying not to collect things from, being Star Wars and the Jurassic Park franchise. But when you see something, you have to have it, and then you run out of room, and then your closet fills up, and yeah, it's a problem.
So you are a collector by chance.
Yeah, most certainly. And when I was young, I'd get all kinds of Star Wars things and Pokemon things, which has seen a great revival that I'm really excited about and spend way too much time on my phone dealing with. But I'm really happy to see all the Pokemon stuff right now.
Do you play Pokemon Go?
Oh yeah, way too much. And I don't even consider myself to be very good at it. But when you travel a lot, it's a lot of fun. Both me and my dad actually play, and he's in Colorado right now, just sending me things. And yesterday he sent me a picture surrounded by 2 Pidgeys and 2 Rattata, and he's like, nope, not going to do it. Too many Pidgeys breaking his balls is what he says.
Right.
And it's just a lot of fun between me and my dad going back and forth with Pokemon. Especially, we were just in New York recently, and New York is the place to go for Pokemon Go. If you happen to go to New York, definitely take out.
I've been in the state of New York, but not New York City. Yeah,
New York City is Pokelit. It is just filled with Electabuzz and Magnemite and Electrode. All right, I need to stop with that. You're really getting me going.
It happens. We all get caught up in it, and then it's like, okay, overly doing.
Yeah, I could pretty much go on for hours about Pokemon or Star Wars. Either of those will really get me going.
So, as far as in your collection, what has been your, should I say, holy grail of Star Wars or Jurassic World?
One of the coolest things that I have is the Jurassic World poster from Mark Englert, which was the first poster that was released for Star Wars, and I have one of the originals of that in my room. It's just this beautiful silk-screened poster, and Mark Englert is an amazing artist. For those who follow internet gaming communities, there's Rooster Teeth, and they do a show called Ruby. And I also have another one of Mark's pieces for that show, which is pretty cool. He's a fantastic artist. So definitely check out Mark Englert's work, and to have one of his original posters is pretty incredible. There was a poster that they were kind of handing out in limited release at San Diego Comic-Con. So there aren't very many of these silk-screened pieces around, and I just kind of, sent him an email about it, and he happened to have one of the artist proofs lying around that he was able to send me. So really fortunate to have that piece, and it's something that I have framed up in my room. So it's definitely my prized piece at the moment.
Very nice. Alrighty, well, thanks for coming and visiting me with me today, Colby.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been really great.
It's been a lot of fun, and
It's been
hopefully we can get you
Geek
on
Talk,
again at some point.
Yeah, definitely hit me up whenever.
So,
It's a lot of fun, and hopefully I'll be able to get out there to Comic-Con near you.
well, I'll
And
see what I can do.
yeah, that'd be great.
So,
Thanks for having me. It's been a lot of fun, and I'll definitely have to check out some of your other podcasts. Sounds
yeah.
like you have. What are some of the good ones I should listen to?
Well, I listen to, well, you got my podcast. Well, I also do work with Swag77 podcast.
All
And
right.
then they have the Star Wars Underworld, if you haven't ever heard of them.
Okay. Yeah.
And,
Definitely heard. I think Star Wars Underground. That was that Celebration a couple years back, maybe.
Star Wars Underworld, yes, they've been at
Yeah.
Celebration a few times.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely something I'm familiar with. I'll definitely have to check out James Arnold Taylor's podcast. He's always a blast to listen to. He has
Oh yeah,
wide voices.
he does a lot of things on YouTube. So,
That's fun. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that one out. He always has some fun stories, and he's someone that there are a lot of actors out there and voice actors, and he's someone who has an appreciation for the production side. I've heard him talk about his involvement on kind of behind the scenes, and that's something that a lot of actors, that might be all they do, and the people who really go above and beyond to learn the production side are the people
right,
that are truly invested in the industry. That's something that I know he has a lot of involvement in.
right. So,